as you see here. So Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart, along with number of other comedians recently, have been coming out talking about cancel culture. So they're obviously, I mean, like everybody else currently, well, not everybody else, but most sane people are realizing the idea that you need to get somebody fired from their job, the idea that you need to run them into the ground, to get rid of them entirely because they disagree with you, is taking over everything, and it's killing all forms of entertainment. So I know right now you guys have heard to death about Kevin Hart and Chris Rock and everybody else. So I want to take you through something that touches on two of my passions, which is video games and horror. But recently, and I'm sure you guys saw it, the creator of Five Nights at Freddy's retired. He didn't retire because he necessarily wanted to. He retired because of the attacks he was getting because of cancel culture. Because, oh my God, he did the worst thing ever. He dared to give money to politicians. Now, to be upfront, I don't like politicians. I don't necessarily believe in voting. But I do believe that you don't just go out and get someone fired because of what they think. The only time to get people fired is because they don't do their job or they hurt somebody. Those are the reasons to get somebody fired. Now, he does give a very good exit letter talking about how blessed he's been, how wonderful it's been to have created this thing, and talking about how at the same time all the work he put in that has backfired, or not, well, backfired, yes, is a good word, and taken away his time that he would have devoted to his kids or making other games that he's not necessarily as good at. But, people don't care. I mean, all they see is that he gave some money, and by some money I do mean $42,000, which granted is more than I will make this year. But he has worked damn hard to earn that money, and he deserves to be able to give it to whom he thinks is best aligning with his views in terms of politics. Again, if it was up to me, I think we would get rid of the government, but blah, blah, blah. That's just rehashing old wounds. He put a very lovely very lovely post on Reddit, trying to talk about if he was going to address it. He said including not addressing it at all, but honestly, the way things are going, he probably would have been best off with that. But life sometimes doesn't let you do that. He talks about the fact that he supported Tulsi Gabbard, who he disagrees with on things, but then he voted for President Trump. And in the end, he felt like he had to do this. He had to retire because he was afraid for his family's life. He was afraid, well, maybe not necessarily for his family's life, but he was afraid for his wife, who was afraid for her family because she's also pregnant. Which honestly, if I was to be pregnant and my husband was doxxed over the internet because people disagreed with who he donated to, I would probably do the same thing because my family would be more important. And honestly, I think at this point, he's probably at a point where he can be okay. I don't think he'd be. I wonder what he has in mind. And unfortunately for me, I also feel like it's going to harm the huge community that's come out behind this. One of the YouTubers I listen to occasionally, I think his name's Super Horror Bro, put out a video about how he may not have necessarily agreed with Cawthorn, but that he felt that he was being unfairly punished for something that people should be allowed to do. And on one hand, I find it heartening to see that, but on the other, you get things like this. So here you have, and I'm pretty sure this is a Poe before anybody gets their panties in a twist. Not to be confused with Edgar Allan, but Poe's Law. Where they take his avatar for his account and compare it to the symbol on the other side. And they do say it's vaguely shaped. But unfortunately, while this might be a joke, you do have people out there who will look at this and take it seriously, who seriously think that that type of thing is true. That it's supposed to be some kind of hidden symbol, and that it's supposed to be some kind of dog whistle. And the amusing thing is every time someone says dog whistle, all I can think is that if you are hearing the dog whistle, doesn't that make you the dog? But, you know, God forbid, sometimes you just can't argue with people. But while you have this kind of thing, this attempt at cancel culture, while it totally destroys one creator, it actually, what was the name of that? I just searched it earlier. There we go. And I'm going to pull this up because I pulled it up earlier and then I closed it. And because I was going to talk about it. But so you have Cawthorn, who has been totally demolished by cancel culture, pushed out of his own company, out of his own creation because of it. And then you have Factorio, Kovarex, who is, on the other hand, I mean, you have a lot of people who are saying it, are saying that he's bad and problematic because he is friends with somebody called Uncle Bob, who just happened to tweet out a Trump quote, which means, you know, he's the most evil person ever. But, you know, he tweets that out, and you get this. And instead of him being canceled, his game goes through the roof. The positive comments left on it on Steam are huge. It has actually benefited him. So the question it leaves me with is, what is the difference between Kovarex and Cawthorn? Both seem to have had strong followings to begin with. Both had cancel culture come for him. But while one gets demolished, another actually rides the tide into higher profitability. And so it makes me stop and think, when we see this happening, I know it's a recent thing, especially with the Gina Carano debacle and all that other stuff, that people have started to try to push through it. But it does make you wonder what the difference is here. Does Factorio just have better support? Is it maybe time for Five Nights at Freddy's to kind of die out anyways because it's been such a long-running franchise? It leaves you with those questions, and that's basically where it's left me after looking at it. You know that the whole market of it is so fragile sometimes, but it's something I don't feel like people stop and reflect on enough, because the more we think about it and the better control we can have over this, the more we can change these types of results going forward.